Without the brain I am used to, an exploration of aging, legacy, and the fear I've carried for decades. I've always had a lousy memory. 20 years ago, when I had my first breast cancer, my memory was further degraded by chemo. I never recovered what I lost to those drugs, but it was a price I was willing to pay. I lived to see my children grow up, and so much more. For the past 2 decades, my brain fog has never fully lifted. I've learned to function despite this deficit, coming up with multiple workarounds to compensate for the vagaries of my memory. Throughout my adult life, I have lived in fear that I would end up like the women in my maternal line, my senile grandmother, who died in a nursing home, convinced she was being poisoned. My mother, whose dementia I lived with up close and personal, until her death 12 years ago. Her decline and denial, and the challenges and rewards of caring for her, were the subject of my 2021 memoir, The Burning Light of Two Stars. I've been afraid of ending up like my mother for decades. Mostly, I shove this fear underground and carry on, doing my best to savor the daily pleasures of my excellent life. But this summer, as I approached the milestone of my 70th birthday, I began noticing changes in my short-term memory, and I've been weighing the option of getting a baseline memory assessment. As I mulled over the question, do I really want to know? I turned to writing to face my fears head-on. I asked my friend and colleague, Nancy London, author of The Ripening, for a writing prompt on the subject, and she gave me a doozy. Without the brain I am used to. I decided to use it as a repeating line. Over the course of the next week, I wrote to Nancy's prompt multiple times. It was incredibly difficult, but the page has always been the place I find courage. Each time I sat down to write, often late at night or early in the morning, I went deeper into my exploration. I imagined what it would be like to have dementia. I drew on everything I had observed, everything I knew about Alzheimer's disease. I wrote about every aspect of this question I could think of. I let it rip. I did not hold back. It felt good to take all the thoughts that have rattled around inside me and move them outside my body onto the page. As always, writing practice brought me right down to the bone, piercing the deepest core level. I shared the piece with a couple of close friends. The first time I read it out loud, I was shaking and crying. The second time, it was a little easier. I read it out loud to myself every day for the next week, digesting my own words, my own mind, my own fears. Then I re-edited it over and over. As I crafted it, honing it into a piece of polished writing, I gained more distance from the words. The fear stopped holding the same power over me. Then I filed the piece in a folder on my laptop and set it aside. I let it lay fallow. Now, more than a month later, I've decided to post it publicly. I was inspired to do so because of the lively conversation that ensued after I published my most recent piece about aging and leaving midlife behind. I'm hoping the new piece will spur the same level of honest conversation, because I know I'm not the only person carrying this legacy or living with these fears. I invite you to write back, to share your own fears, strategies, and experience. Here's my response to Nancy's prompt. Without the brain I am used to, 20 thoughts. 1. Without the brain I am used to, my to-do lists will shrink and the tasks and reminders on them will change. I won't be able to do as much, accomplish as much, manage complex tasks the way I still can now. I'll sleep more. Yay. Rest more. Be more. I will no longer be able to multitask. That will be a relief. Without the brain I am used to, my time in the woods will matter to me more, and it already matters a lot. I will keep the company of trees, breathe with the redwoods, flow in and out with the pulse of waves. Without the brain I am used to, politics won't impact me the way it does today. The fight for democracy and against autocracy won't concern me. That fight will not be my fight anymore. I wonder what I will think about, how my thoughts will change, if I'll have thoughts at all. I look forward to a simpler life. 2. The truth is, my life is already changing. I like most of these changes. I am growing less attached, more playful, flexible, relaxed, connected, receptive, heartful. I do not feel driven the way I was before. When I am too busy, I do not like it. Without the brain I am used to, Laura Davis, doer, manifester, author, and teacher won't matter anymore. All the identities I've shaped and carried and tended for 70 years will slough away. I will no longer be the person I have always been. But what do those words even mean? Who is this fictional person I have always been? There is no fixed person that I have always been. I have always been evolving. I am a soul, living, breathing, part of the universe, wrapped in a personality structure. What would it be like to be free of that personality structure? To no longer identify with the I that I have seen as me? Who will emerge from beneath that constructed self? 3. Without the brain I am used to, I don't know what will happen. I have no idea. None. I know what I am afraid of. The ghosts of my mother and grandmother loom large before me. My particular path as I lose brain cells, as my short and long-term memories slip further away, and my famous functionality fades. There is no way for me to know where it will lead me, or how far down that slippery slope I will slide. I am not destined to become my grandmother. I am not destined to become my mother. My fear of this legacy is just that, a fear I've allowed in my psyche for far too many years. Can I replace that fear with a question mark? Can I meet this unknown future, this not knowing how I will age, with curiosity rather than terror? 4. As my brain begins to change, or should I say keeps changing, I will try to hide what is happening. For a while, maybe a long while, my workarounds will be successful, good enough for me to carry on as an independent, fully functioning adult, solopreneur, leader, teacher, author. My work, once outstanding, will become good, then just good enough. I will compensate for the deficits in my memory with resources earned from longevity, reputation, life experience, wisdom, emotional maturity, and decades of practice, much as I do today. But then one day something will happen, a big something or a lot of little somethings, and I won't be able to function anymore. I won't be able to hide the truth anymore, not from myself, not from my family, not from my friends, not from my students. There will be no more hiding, no more compensating. What is happening to my brain will be very apparent. Then, the real surrender will begin. 5. There will be a terrible time when I am aware of what I am losing. I will feel very, very sad and anxious. I will feel like the world is closing in on me. And then perhaps a new world will open. 6. Witnessing my mother's decline, I decided I'd prefer death by suicide, what Michael Lerner calls self-deliverance, to losing the brain I have. I signed papers to that effect, notarized them, locked them in a safe deposit box downtown. I made my wishes clear to my wife and my children. I'd rather be dead. I don't want to end up like them. When she was in her 70s, before dementia took hold, my mother endlessly repeated, "If I ever have to be in a walker or a wheelchair, just take me out back and shoot me." She never wanted to end up like her mother, to be reduced to a smiling shell on a bedpan, unconcerned about who was watching. Yet there she was, doing just that at 86, months before she died. As her daughter, it was horrible to witness. My mother, the vain beauty queen, reduced to that. But she was happy that day, her whole body smiling, mouth to eyes. From my vantage point now, I've had a good run, a full life. If I head down that road, I want to die. But what will I say then? Will my will to live, the forceful drive that propelled me to survive the death of my identical twin and 6 long weeks in an incubator, keep me here? Will the riches and pleasure and people in my life convince me to stay? Or will I forget I even have a choice? Maybe I will be like the protagonist in Still Alice, the Harvard professor with Alzheimer's, who reads the directions she wrote up for herself to die by suicide, walks upstairs to follow them, then can't remember why she came upstairs. She can no longer follow her own instructions. That book has haunted me for years. Will I wait too long and stay by default? 7. Without the brain I am used to, I will no longer be a master of words. My words will slip away. Writing this would become impossible. 8. Without the brain I am used to, all the layers of self-protection I put in place to shield me from loss will peel away. What I've hidden and protected on the inside will be visible on the outside. My thoughts, emotions, and secrets will be exposed for all to see. I wonder if other faculties will come to the fore. What, if anything, will take the place of all that functioning, capability, and worry? 9. Without the brain I am used to, I will face uncertainty. I will be uncertainty. Life will become simple. I will perceive. I will sense. I will still savor life, music, tastes, hugs, connection. I hope there will be joy, awe, wonder, humor, reverence. Why not? There will be so much less to get in the way. 10. Will the loss of self feel effortless and right, like a snake shedding skin, like a browning blossom falling on the earth? Maybe it will feel good to slough off all those layers of identity and doing. Maybe I will adapt to a new way of life. This is the way things are right now. The overcoat of ego will dissolve, and a new self will emerge. Will this less ego-driven self have greater access to awareness, the pure awareness I've touched in meditation, nature, plant medicine, creative flow, and an intimate communion with another? Maybe losing the brain I've had, the one that's had a vice grip on my life, will open the door to the kind of presence I have always wanted. That would be worth a whole lot of brain cells. I've said I want my life to change. This would definitely be a change. If I lose the brain I've had, I'll hope for freedom. 11. Perhaps this transition will be more upsetting to my loved ones than it is for me. Will this potential future, so horrible to me in anticipation, feel horrible to me later? There's no way to know. People don't report back from dementia land. Life will be different, but will it be worse? What if it's better? 12. Without the brain I am used to, life will become confusing. Tasks that used to be manageable will become unmanageable. I will start making mistakes around money and handling the details of my life. Technology will confound me. I will let things slide. I won't fret about money. Others will manage that for me. Will I feel frustrated and angry like my mother? Will I blame others for my frustration? Will I deny the change that is occurring? I'm certainly not denying it now, or I wouldn't be writing these words. For a while, I will care what people think, and then I won't care at all anymore. Maybe I will be free from worry. Now, wouldn't that be a miracle? 13. But I am not free from worry now. I am afraid of terror and disconnection. I am afraid of existing, but not being fully alive. 14. Without the brain I am used to, my relationship with time will change. I don't know how I'll spend my mornings, afternoons, evenings, nights, how I'll greet the day, how I'll feel when I get up in the morning, what food will taste like, what I'll eat. If measuring out tablespoons of flax seeds and hemp seeds and almond butter into my steel-cut oats, sprinkling a handful of blueberries and a big splash of cinnamon on top, so important to me now, will still matter? I don't think so. Will I eat nursing home swill with gusto like my mother did? Will I smile as she did, scooping up overcooked green beans from a molded plastic tray? The social worker told me Mom was the first person in the history of the place who had ever complimented the food. Will that be me? Grateful for bland, lifeless, industrial food? Will I become my grandmother, convinced that they are trying to poison me? Or like my mother, screaming in the night, terrified of things that I, her daughter, could not see? Or will there be relief, the long, deep relief of emptiness? 15. Without the brain I am used to, I will live in the world of impulse and sensation, sensuality and receptivity. I will have no choice but to exist in the world of now. Maybe I'll embrace a whole different way of living with breath in my body, a raw, pulsing, vibrating experience of being. Without the brain I am used to, I will enter the great unknown. 16. Without the brain I am used to, will I recognize myself? And if I can't, does it matter? Without the brain I am used to, people will look at me with pity. My presence, or should I say my absence, will make people sad. My world of people will become smaller, but those who matter most will still love me, and I will still love them, even if I can't remember them, and I hope I will remember them. A thread of love will pulse between us. We are connected on levels beyond this world. 18. Family will be what matters. Some of them I have taken care of. I hope and think they will take care of me. 19. Without the brain I am used to, touch will matter more. I hope I am touched tenderly and with love. 20. I hope the loss of brain cells leads to the growth of heart cells. Without the brain I am used to, all that will matter is love. Addendum. It is the nature of human life, of each flower, bud, and living creature to be born, to rise to its greatest potential, its moment of fruition, reproduction, and beauty, and then to fade, decline, and die. This includes me. This includes you. As the Buddhists teach in the 5 remembrances, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. Thanks to my dear friend Nancy London for giving me this evocative writing prompt. And I invite you to leave a comment, share your thoughts, your experiences, your fears. And if you would like to read my mother-daughter story about shepherding a parent as a caregiver through the world of dementia and many other things, I invite you to read The Burning Light of Two Stars. It examines the endurance of mother-daughter love, how memory protects and betrays us, and the determination it takes to fulfill a promise when ghosts from the past come knocking. And here are a few quotes from readers. I finished The Burning Light of Two Stars in a bed of tears. What an eloquent, compelling story. Abby Stemmelman Hockey, Executive Director, Interfaith Philadelphia. I read all night and I do not give up sleep easily. The burning light of two stars fed my soul. Eileen Tejada. From the first page, I didn't want this beautiful, compelling story to end. Kay Taylor. And remember, every time you click the heart, leave a comment, or share a post, you're making it easier for new readers to discover the writer's journey.